Good morning, Maryland Realtors. Thank you so much for your help and your assistance. We're so excited for you to join us in Annapolis this coming Wednesday, February 11th. It does begin at 9 a.m. That is when registration will open. I know some people are still filtering in. So while they do that, just thank you again for being here. We are so happy that you are able to join us. We're really looking forward to our initiatives this session, and we're going to get into everything you're going to need to know for Wednesday. Don't you worry. Um, you are welcome to take notes if you really want to. This webinar is recorded, so we will be sending this out to attendees after this webinar is finished. As soon as Zoom tells me I can put it on YouTube, I will be putting it on YouTube and emailing all of you the link. So if you got the link for this webinar and those reminder emails I was sending out, you will also get the link to the recording. We understand realtors are busy. You guys are bouncing from appointment to appointment every single day. So if you cannot stay to the end of the webinar, we completely understand. But please make sure that you are at least watching this in its entirety, whether you're here with us live or whether you're recording it or well, we're recording it. If you're watching it recorded, that's fine too. But this is really important information, and we will give you a briefing with information about this at the beginning of the event on Wednesday. But it's an abbreviated time period. There's a lot of things going on, and we're trying to get you to those meetings. So this is the best place for you to get this information. All right, with all of that out of the way, hi, I'm Jackie. If you don't know me, I'm the Consumer Advocacy and Website Manager at Maryland Realtors. With us, we also have Kristen McGee, our Grassroots and Policy Advocate, and Lisa May, our Director of Advocacy. You'll hear from them shortly. I get to talk about the fun things, the logistics. So let's get into it. This is our agenda for this webinar. We have quite a few things we're going to be going over. So if you just want to see what we have in mind, we're going to start with those logistics. We'll get into your schedules. We'll get into some of the collateral and materials you'll be bringing around with you, some general do's and don'ts, and then also just other things to expect. You guys making an impact. Our talking points, which is kind of the meat of this webinar, and then we'll have time for Q&A. So if you have questions throughout, the Q&A box should be enabled at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Please feel free to put any questions you have throughout. We may wind up having to wait for some of those answers until the very end, but put it in the Q&A box before you forget your question. I know that's what I'm doing. And if it's something I can answer in the meantime throughout the webinar, I'll be writing up some responses to you. So please feel free, and we're excited to be here. Great. So, the most important thing, some of the first decisions of your day on lobby day is going to be what you're going to wear. Wear comfortable shoes. We stress this every year because it is one of the most important decisions you have to make on Wednesday. Um, Cobblestones are not kind to heels. Stilettos do not recommend. Um, a loafer is a good choice. Sneakers, perfectly acceptable. Dress comfortable because you're going to be walking around, rushing from appointment to appointment. Nothing new for you guys, but the cobblestones might be. Dress for the weather also. We have had some like pleasantly warm days at a cool 33 degrees lately. But Maryland weather is going to do what it's going to do. We'll try to give you guys a reminder about this as well before the event. But dress for the weather. You won't be outside for too long. We'll be in the legislative buildings for a good amount of time. But you do need to go between houses, between the Calvert House and the Senate building and the House building. And then also you got to get from your parking, which we'll go over in a moment. But so just be ready to be outside and not get frostbite, ideally. Travel light. You will be having to go through security both in the Senate buildings and the House buildings. You can bring in water bottles, but it just slows down the process. And if you only have 15 minutes and the line at security is long, having additional items slows it down a bit. So pack as light as possible because also you have to carry all the things for the rest of the day. So if you don't need it, you can leave it in your car, leave it at home. And yes, so take everything with you when you go to your appointments. You will not be coming back to the Calvert House where we'll be having our breakfast afterwards. You'll be going right back to your cars. So take everything with you when you leave Calvert House with us. And then again, a note about security. I'm sorry, I'm going a bit out of order here. Bring a photo ID. You will need a photo ID to get into the buildings. Not Calvert House, but you will to be able to do the rest of the event. If you don't bring a photo ID, they're not letting you through security. So just triple check in the morning that you got your wallet with you. If you're driving here, you already need it. But you will definitely need that. And then any bags you bring in are going to be screened as well. They have a metal detector that I've heard maybe is whipping some things through pretty fast, which bonus points for security. Less if you have unsecured items. So another reason to pack light. All right, that parking and shuttle information. You will not have to pay if you follow these instructions, you will not need to pay for your parking. If you choose to park elsewhere, that is totally fine and totally up to you, but plan that extra time. And also then that bill will be on you. So the parking that we are providing is at the Navy Stadium, specifically at Gate 5. The address, if you're putting it into Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you're doing, the easiest way to get there, make sure the parking address is 555 Taylor Ave in Annapolis, Maryland. If you just put in Navy Stadium, you're probably going to be taken to a wrong gate. And then it's going to be either there won't be an attendant or it's an attendant who doesn't know that they shouldn't be charging you, they'll be charging us after the fact. So go to Navy Stadium Gate 5, and then there will be a shuttle running from actually, I'm very sorry. I do think I have a typo here. It is from 8:30 to 2, if I am correct, but I will make sure that that correct information goes out in the email after this, so apologies. But from 8:30 to 2, there will be a shuttle running continuously from the Navy Stadium to as close, we told them as close to Calvert House as they can get you, which is likely going to be Lawyers Mall, which is shown here on the map that I have for you. So as you can see, Calvert House is the red, Lawyers Mall is the black. They're a short walk away from each other. It's not terribly far, but they're going to get you as close as possible. Make a note of where they drop you off, because that's going to be where they're picking you up. And that private shuttle is what's getting you to Calvert House and getting you back to your car after your meetings. So make sure you remember that information when you get off the bus. They will have our logo printed out. I'm sending them our logo to be able to be printed out. So they should have that in the window of the bus to make it easier for you to find. Because I know there are a couple local shuttles and buses running at the same time. The registration, if you have not joined us for Lobby Day before, also, hello again. So excited for you to join. But this is a picture of Calvert House just because I know when I first showed up on my first Lobby Day, I was like, which door do I go in and what is happening? The door is underneath these stairs. So follow like there's a little path around the stairs. Go through those doors and then you head straight back and you'll find us. And if not, just yell. One of us will hear you. But you will come to the tables. They will be on your right hand side after you walk in through those doors for a little bit and check in with the staff at the table. You will be providing your last name, and you can also tell them your local board. That might make it easier for them to find you. And then you'll collect your materials, and you will go up. There will be a limited supply because we're almost out of our official NAR scarves. So the first few people who are there and want them will get a nice blue scarf with the Realtor logo on it and pockets. Get your breakfast, get settled, and we will then have our briefing after that. The rough schedule for the event. So 8:30, parking and shuttle begins. It's very important that you know. If you get there early, outstanding, kudos and gold stars. But the shuttle won't get you until 8:30. 9 o'clock is when registration and breakfast begin. So that's when we'll start accepting people to get checked in. And that's when the wonderful warm breakfast that we're all looking forward to is going to come on out. At 10 a.m. is when we're going to start our briefing. So you'll have some time to read over the talking points again, look at your materials, and chat with your neighbors who might be going on some meetings with you before we get into a quick review of what you're doing. And then at 11, you are off to legislator visits. For the record, you will be leaving Calvert House before 11, but 11 is when most of your meetings will be beginning. We need to make sure you have time to get through security and all of that and get your bearings. Some of the rooms are a little tricky to find. So we try to make sure you have ample time to get to your meetings so you're not running late. And then again, at 2 is when that shuttle ends. So if you stay late, say you want to get lunch in downtown Annapolis, that is totally fine. And you are perfectly able to do that. We love a good free will moment. But the shuttle ends at 2. And so if you need help getting back to your car after 2, that is going to be on you. So it's important to keep that in mind. The morning briefing, I would have substituted this out for a picture of last year's if I had one. But unfortunately, the snow is my sworn enemy. And so we're not going to repeat it. And we're actually going to be able to join everyone in Annapolis this year. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm not worried at all. But this is what our briefing is going to look like. It will actually look a little bit different this year. We want to make sure as many realtors and as many of you are able to join us as possible. So we are swapping out our rounds for more theater style seating to make sure as many people can fit as possible. And we have a sold out lobby day event. So we are definitely trying to make it at like maximum to every degree possible. But you will hear from our current leadership, from our CEO, Chuck, about the information for today, or for Wednesday, I should say. I'm getting ahead of myself. Quick review of all of it. So you'll have a moment to collect yourself, get in the mindset, find your team lead before you head out to your visits. And your visit teams and schedules. We are color coding everything. So you will get part of what you'll get at registration is a name tag sticker. It will not say your name on it. Unfortunately, there are many of you, and we are giving you name tags that will instead label the local board that you're with, which will help us organize your teams on the day of. Those name tags are color coded so that they'll be a lot easier to find. Different teams have different colors, and I love that. It's so much fun. All attendees also are going to be emailed their team colors and the name of your team lead by Monday, probably Monday afternoon. We have a lot of logistics that we are still finalizing with all of our legislator visits, but we are hoping to get that information to you so you have it in advance so that when you come to the registration table, you know the information that you might need and you can tell them exactly what's going on. When you come to that registration table, you're getting that name tag. You're going to get our nice little folder with all of your talking points in it. And of course, you're going to pick up a little cookie for yourself. Team leads are also going to be reminded to come to another table that will be down the hall a little bit further to pick up one bag for their team unless otherwise specified. So those we're going to talk about a little bit more, but those are for a bag filled with the materials you'll need for your visit. So like leave behinds and collateral, but we'll be going over that in a moment. Most teams, most, not all, will be starting in the Senate building and then moving over to the House building. Some people are spending the whole day in the House building, and some people look like they're going to be spending the whole day in the Senate building. We're just trying to make it work with as many legislators as possible, and so it means some people are going to be doing different things. I think there's one team doing everything backwards and starting with the House and then moving to the Senate. So pay attention to your schedule, listen to your team lead. They know where they're going and they know where you're going next. But generally, that's going to be the flow of things for most of you. For those of you who have never been to Lobby Day or have never been into the Senate and House buildings, here's some photos of what they look like. The Senate building has these pillars with egg cup looking things on them. I'm sure that's not what they're meant to be, but that's the only thing I see every time. So for the Senate, you're looking for those egg cups. And then if you have a room that says James, excuse the spacing mess up on my slides, but if you're going to James rooms, you're going to be turning left once you get in those doors. And if you're going to Miller, you're turning right when you get on those doors. For the House, Taylor, most of them are not going to be Taylor, but for those that are Taylor, you're going to go straight ahead and you're just going to get in those elevators. For any of the low LOWE rooms and offices, you are going to just turn right once you get in those doors. And from there, you can, for always able to stop and ask for directions if you cannot find an office number. We have done that many times. Some of the numbering choices made in these buildings are questionable at best. But we will always make do and find those offices when needed. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Krista.
Hello, good morning, everybody. And I just have to give some kudos to my colleagues here, Lisa, with all the background information she's doing on these talking points. They're customized to each legislator. I mean, it's really impressive. And we're really working around the clock. And Jackie with setting all these appointments up. So with that in mind, we had a question come up in the chat about getting these information and the talking points ahead of time. And unfortunately, it's just not very practical because these appointments, we give them a deadline. And I mean, we're not going to turn down an appointment that comes in last minute. So a lot of these do come in last minute because people are, they have other priorities come up, and I'll get into some of those later. But we are going to share all of the slides after this webinar. And so all the helpful information that you'll need to, get up to speed on what we're going to be talking about will be contained in this presentation. The other question I saw in the chat that I was going to answer live is whether team leads have been assigned. We are still working on doing that because some associations have to break up into multi-teams within the association. And so we're still determining leads, but for the most part, your government affairs directors or your association executives are typically going to be the leads because we have this beautiful bag full of materials that they get to carry around. Yay. So, what's in the bag? Okay. So we are going to have our lobby day folders, those pretty little folders that we have every year. Yep. And you're going to hand that to them along with a box of cookies. You heard that right. We did 3 cookies per legislator in a box, and the whole concept behind it is the missing middle. And so the cookies kind of assemble together like a little puzzle. And so we wanted to make sure that, we've heard before that some of the staffers really love our cookies, and we love the fact that we're becoming known for it. So this way they can enjoy some as well. Also, you're going to have our infographic, which contains all of our latest updates about our housing survey, and also a legislator info sheet. Jackie, if you can go to the next slide, I'll get into that. Oh, well, it will be, there we go. Okay, so on the info sheet here for the legislator, this is really important. You'll know it because their picture is on it. So you don't want to hand them the page that has their picture on it. But on this info sheet, it has the office information, nice pictures so you can put a name to a face if it's somebody that you don't recognize. And then all of the information that you want to highlight with that individual. Like I said earlier, all this information is really curated based upon their committee assignment. And so each legislator will have different talking points that you'll go over. Jack, you can go back to the previous slide. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get ahead of myself, but I started referencing something. I wanted to provide some context. Next one, please. Okay, what to expect. All right. So the general theme of the day and really needs to be flexibility because we have meetings arranged with a significant amount of the legislators, but there's going to be some that we do not have meetings scheduled with. However, we have cookies, the lobby folder, the infographics, all of that jazz available for each legislator, whether or not we have a visit planned or not for them. On your team schedule, you'll see a list of those who are kind of drop by as you are able to. And so everyone is covered, but it's also very helpful because, you might end up going in there and might have a meeting scheduled, but you might be able to have an impromptu meeting because you might catch them in the hall or something like that. So even if you don't have a meeting schedule, just kind of pre-read that before you go into it, just so you can kind of do your homework and be prepared. Back to the flexibility. A lot of meetings are going to be with staff. Staff is great. Staff are the eyes and ears to the elected official. And it's kind of funny. I was thinking back to whenever I used to be a staffer way back in the dark ages, and I can think of at least 4 of my fellow staffers that are now elected officials. So they tend to progress. And so they're very helpful. They're very, very smart. And a lot of times they can actually spend more time with you and get into things more so than the elected official. And so don't discount those meetings with staff. And back to the flexibility, because the same day, we have the pleasure of having the governor's state of the state occurring at 12 o'clock, which of course shifts things around. And so a lot of these meetings that would normally be with your elected officials that would prioritize meeting with you are going to be with staff, if that is even possible at this time. There's also other groups down there. I think it's great. We have the Builders Association down there, and they're also going to be having meetings. So it's literally going to be a housing theme day, essentially. And you can hit the next slide, Jackie. So how to prep before your meeting. So do determine who's going to be talking about which points. Change this around. Somebody has a really good background based on, one of our priorities. then that person talks. Kind of take your turns. If you can have a note taker, somebody who writes down, and somebody asked in the chat too, like if there's going to be note paper that you can take notes with, you can write that easily on the legislator back sheet, the one with their picture that you won't be sharing with them, and just any questions that they have. And remember, I do not know, and I will get back, I will have someone get back with you. Is a perfectly acceptable answer if they bring up things that is just outside your knowledge, or if it's unrelated, or even at times they can get confused about things. And so always relay back to us and we will take care of that for you. And we really appreciate that. Um, so come prepared to discuss your materials ahead of time. I mean, I think the fact that you're here, you're already ahead of the game because you're doing your homework. Um, Arrive on time and be polite. Um, we always want to be on time, but sometimes offices don't always run on time. So if they're a few minutes late, just, patiently and, politely wait for them to meet with you. Also, if something, if you're running in between, you're hitting the clock is starting to tick fast and you have another appointment coming up, have a plan and make sure that you split up your teams if necessary to be able to send people to that next appointment, because the worst thing is to not show up for an appointment when they've really carved out the narrow amount of time to meet with us. And that's why we have their phone numbers for each office on the legislator info sheet. And so if you're running late, if you can't split up, just call ahead and just, be courteous like you would with your clients. And don't leave your group without a plan. Share each other's phone, like contact information if you do end up splitting up. That way you all can meet up again. And that way you'll know where people are and you don't miss out on other meetings occurring during that day. Okay, Jackie, next slide. Now, during your meeting, always be respectful and courteous and realize that not everyone's viewpoints are going to align with yours, and just, just be very cordial even when you disagree. And I think I said this before, admit what you don't know. I say I don't know a lot of times, but I'll get back with you. And to my knowledge, I don't think anyone has ever held that against me. So better to give accurate, good information than to share something that you are confused about or you're just not sure. Be as sensitive to the amount of time that's allotted. Just keep your eye on the clock and make sure that your appointment is not going to interfere with your next one. And whenever dropping off the materials to the legislators that we don't have appointments with, keep that in mind as well. Just prioritize your time and figure out how you're going to approach it. Provide the member and the staff with the infographic, the folder, talking points, and the box of cookies whenever that earlier. And to the don'ts. Bringing up unrelated issues during the meeting, this is not the forum for that. Or making promises that you can't deliver. Give them the facts. Being overly wordy, at times I'm guilty of it myself, but with limited amount of time, you want them to remember the most important things. People retain 20% of what they heard of each meeting. Make sure that those points that you're making are going to be the ones that they remember. And I keep saying this, staff are amazing. Don't discount them. Next slide, Jackie. All right, after your meetings. So because we mentioned that we have the boxes of the 3 cookies, point out the symbolism behind it, the missing middle, and to build their own little cookie neighborhood with those cookies in the box. And of course, thank them for meeting with us and for their support. Bring your business cards, share your business cards, get the business cards of their staff members, or, and it never hurts to take pictures. Videos are a little dicey. I mean, as you all are aware, Maryland requires 2-party consent for recording. And so do not record videos. It's just a no-no and illegal without their consent. So take pictures. They love pictures. And when you have the staff contact information, send those pictures to them. That way they could put it in their newsletter. They love meeting with you. And also, you wouldn't mind sending that picture to us so that we have some pictures in our Tumblr. So, to memorialize this amazing day. And send a thank you email to the legislator or their staff that you met with. Um, Thank you never hurts. Appreciate your time. You guys do this a lot with your clients. The don'ts. So don't forget to email any relevant notes, comments, critiques, questions, confusion to our team here. We will do that dirty work for you. So let us do that for you. And just don't forget to let us know, because a lot of times we can clear things up or clear up the type of confusion. Um, I mentioned earlier about sharing photos, and it's very, very helpful to include the names of those that are in the photos whenever you send it to us and also to the legislator, because that way they can highlight who is there. They want to brag about you, so give them the tools to allow them to do so. And with that, Lisa, take it away for the meat and potatoes of this presentation.
All right, the fun stuff, guys. Yeah, we're going to talk about the specific bills that you will be discussing with your members of the General Assembly. And I'm just going to pause there because you all have seen all of the work that Jackie and Krista have been putting into this day with all of the slides that have come before. So thank you both so much. And Krista is right. You have, and I believe Jackie mentioned this too. So just to drive it home one more time, you have a very short window with each of these offices, and we are leaving a lot of information with them. You are not going to get through all of it. So we have narrowed down the main points that you need to make with each office on the legislator sheet. And we want you to focus on those in your meetings. The folders, the infographic, those are leave behinds that the staff and the member of the Senate or the House can review at a later time. But just to make sure that we are really driving home the main points, we want you to be working off of those one-sheeters, which will include some of the following talking points. So let's dig in. The first bill, and it's not often that we do this. We usually like to keep Lobby Day very positive, talking about the things that we favor, the bills that we love. It's all very happy. But sometimes there are going to be bills where we really have to drive home that we are not in favor of an issue or a particular piece of legislation. And this year is one of them, particularly because, as many of you know who have followed our advocacy communications up to this point, there is a bill that the Maryland Association of Counties, or MACo, has submitted and will be heard in the General Assembly. And it claims to be this great bill for housing, right? It's wonderful. They call it the Bambi Act, which is building affordably in my backyard. Who could hate that? Well, when you dig into the specifics of that bill, there is a whole lot for realtors to hate in that bill. Namely, that there are a slew of new taxes on home sales, on property owners that are in no way good for housing affordability or housing construction. So we are going to talk about that with our elected officials, because right now is definitely not the time to be increasing taxes on Maryland residents, on Maryland property owners, on the small percentage of individuals who happen to buy and sell a home in any given year. It is the wrong bill at the wrong time. It is not what Maryland residents want. So we are going to try to overcome that perception that this is a good housing bill. This more than likely is the very first talking point on all of your sheets with every elected official. That's how strongly we feel about this bill. Now, we're going to do this respectfully, of course. You notice that there are two members of the General Assembly who are the sponsors of this bill. So we're going to be very respectful. This is just a difference of opinion on what helps, but we're also going to be very forceful and adamant in our beliefs of this bill and what it does. All right, next slide. So a follow-up question that you might get to the first bill, the Bambi bill, well, if Bambi is not a good idea, what will help housing? And the good thing is you can see there are a host of bills here that we are strongly supporting that have been shown to increase housing supply, to cut red tape, to streamline housing permitting, and to build the types of houses that have been outlawed through our zoning and regulatory schemes that are on the books right now. If you are going to the Senate, there are cross files for a number of these bills, so the bill numbers may change, the sponsor names may change, but the talking points are the same. We have a housing crisis. Other states have taken action to address it. Maryland needs to act, and we need to do what has been shown to work. And there is plenty in these bills for everyone to like. Democrats, Republican, urban, suburban, rural. There is something there for everyone. And that is what we want the General Assembly to focus on. These bills, not the Bambi bill. All right, next slide. Now we're going to get a little more in the weeds on some of our realtor priority issues, bills that we have asked to be introduced. And these are three proposals that fall under the broader umbrella of consumer protection. Everyone loves a consumer protection measure in an election year, right? We think that this is good, not just for Maryland residents, also the fact that realtors are the ones that are pushing these measures. So those of you who have been around for a while, you know, condo and HOA resale processes, condo and HOA resale fees, that has been a theme of ours for a number of sessions now, probably will continue to be. But what is new this year is that these bills are going to a new committee with all of the shuffling that we've had in the House. These used to go to Environment and Transportation. They're now going to Economic Matters. And so we have a very good opportunity to educate these members of Economic Matters who haven't seen these issues before, but we can lay that groundwork. We can be the first ones to get in and to share our side of these issues. So condo and HOA fees, probably all of you have stories, clients who have experienced this, and those personal stories are really great to highlight the issue of what people are seeing out there. The second issue is a reintroduction from a couple of years ago. Some of you may remember that there were homeowner benefit agreements that were circulating around, and that was where a property owner would receive an upfront cash payment, couple $100 up to maybe $1,500, $2,000. And in exchange for that cash payment, they would agree to use a certain real estate brokerage when they sold that home anytime within the next 40 years. And those agreements were recorded like a lien on the property record. Well, what has happened? We banned the use of those agreements going forward. That's typically how legislation works. Okay, we don't do anything backwards. We only prevented them from occurring going forward. Well, excuse me, we all have the back to session crud that we're all fighting down there. There are about 1,000 of these homeowner benefit agreements that are still on the books. So when these individuals want to sell with the realtor of their choice, they get a letter in the mail that says, you signed one of these agreements. You owe us a penalty for not listing that home with our brokerage, which, by the way, does not exist anymore. So these homeowners are needing to pay 3% of the home price in a penalty. We think that is horrible for the homeowners who may need that equity to retire, may want to pass that on to their heirs and form generational wealth. So we learned that we have a couple of states that have been able to go back and try to remove and invalidate those agreements so that those property owners do not have to pay those penalties. And we think that that is worth a shot to protect those homeowners from these agreements, which many view as very predatory. So that is a bill that will be introduced. Finally, return of earnest money deposits. And you will all remember that this also was an initiative of ours several years ago, was to streamline the return of the earnest money deposit when a buyer has successfully exercised a contract contingency to cancel the purchase. At the time we passed this bill, we thought financing was a little tricky. So we outlined a very specific list of contingencies that streamlined return applied to. Well, since then, all of you have asked, this process, it works really, really well. Why doesn't it apply to every contract contingency? So that is what we are doing in this bill. We are expanding the return of deposit process to every contract contingency. And if a seller thinks that a buyer has played games, has done something to intentionally undermine the transaction, they can object to the release of the deposit back to the buyer. But they have to take action to do that, whether it is filing in court or filing for mediation. And we've cleaned up the process to make it really clear, if you're seeking mediation, the steps that you need to take. It's not enough to just say, oh, I'm going to file for mediation, and that's your objection. So again, 3 bills that really have consumers in mind to show that realtors are looking out for their clients out in the marketplace. All right. Any questions, Jackie, that have come in, or are we okay to move on? All right. Let's go ahead.
We are good to keep going. Yes.
All right. Let's keep going then. All right. And then this is the final one, and not everyone is going to have this bill on their talking points, because this bill really only involves 2 committees and 2 specific committees within the General Assembly. Again, a new one, Economic Matters. This is the first time that they are hearing it. But judicial proceedings, they are well aware of this bill. It has been around for a good 10 years. We have been successful in keeping it bottled up and preventing it from passing. But this involves property management. This involves a measure that tenants' rights advocates are pushing, which is essentially to say that unless a rental property owner, a landlord, or property manager, unless they have a very specific reason that is outlined in the statute, you must offer your tenants a renewal of the lease, or you must allow them to continue to stay in the property under a holdover tenancy. And from our standpoint, that just goes against what we believe, leases, rental agreements being contracts. Can you force someone to enter into a contract against their will? Can one party, in this case the tenant, force a landlord to continue a contract after they have fulfilled all the terms of the original one, or to enter into a new contract. And from our standpoint, that answer is no. And we've had some good success in comparing that to, say, for instance, a rental car. If you go over to the Enterprise or Hertz or the rental counter at the airport, you say, "I'm going to rent a car for 5 days." They agree. On that fifth day, can you go back to that rental car agency and say, "You know what? I want you to rent me this car for another 5 days," and you have to do it? Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? And conversely, would a landlord be able to say to a tenant, "You know what? You're going to continue to rent from me unless you have a good reason not to?" Uh, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this bill. It's an election year. Tenant rights folks, have not exactly gotten the response that they want on this bill. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on elected officials to find compromises on this issue. We want to make very clear that we think this is not a good piece of legislation. So if you are seeing a senator who sits on the Judicial Proceedings Committee, or if you are visiting a member of the Economic Matters Committee, this will likely be on your talking points sheet. We've left it off of the other ones because this is a little more inside baseball, and we really want you all to focus on the housing supply issues. But just to make one last push on this issue, this session, a few of you will in fact see this bill. And that brings us to the end of our talking points that you all will be focusing on. I'm going to turn this back over to Jackie and Krista to walk you through the end, and then we can take your questions.
Yeah, so we just want to end on a note of also just, again, thank you and share your photos. Again, you can send in your photos from the event to pictures@mdrealtor.org and we'll get them. If you can, again, include the names of the people who are in the photos. Let us know so that if we're able to put it in the caption, so we know who's there and who was actually participating, it would be really great. You can see also all of our past photos of all of our events that we get when we have photographers or photos sent in. We include on our Flickr page, so you can scan that QR code, or if you want, it is linked on our events page on our website if you want to go back and look at photos from Lobby Day 2 years ago. Unfortunately, I can't say last year. You are more than welcome to. You'll see a lot of smiling faces and you'll see a lot of like really wonderful meetings on there. But again, just the thank you for volunteering your time and joining us at this event because without you guys, these meetings don't happen. Your effort is what is helping us create change for housing in Maryland, and we have been able to make real change for Marylanders. In the past few sessions, we've had some amazing bills that have come through, and we're not stopping. So, all of the initiatives and priorities that Lisa just went over, and everything else that we've talked about in this webinar, it happens with you guys. So thank you so much. We know, a spare Wednesday isn't easy to come by these days. So we appreciate that you're taking a day in your week, in your month, in your very, very busy year to be with us. So thank you again. Krista, if you want to add anything, please feel free. But yeah, sorry.
There better not be any snow. So let's all just like hope and pray that that does not happen. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here with us, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Let us know if you have any other questions.
Yes, and questions. And again, my spacing got messed up on the export. But yes, if you have any questions, now is a wonderful time. We will be here and we will answer them. And yes, also a note about as far as I'm knocking on wood immediately, but as far as we're aware, there's no worry about snow. But Maryland weather is going to Maryland weather. Should there be any kind of inclement weather, you will be hearing about it. You will be getting an email. It will be on our social media. It will be on the Lobby Day page on our website as soon as we hear anything. If anything happens, I'm just going to knock on wood again. But we are not concerned about it. We're just remembering how sad we were last year. that we had to cancel it the day before. But with that, it does look like we've had, thank you again to all of the thank yous that we've seen. It does look like we have one question. So most sessions will end at 1. I think we have a couple meetings right now where the meeting starts at 1, so it'll be done at 1:15. And that's why we've planned it where the bus shuttle back to your parking will end at 2. Because that gives you 45 minutes to walk. It's like a 5 to 10 minute walk to where the bus should be getting you from the House and Senate buildings. So it should be a quick walk for you, even if you need to grab a bite to eat at one of the cafes or stop and get and like just hit the bathroom before you take a however long your drive back home is. You should have plenty of time for that, and that's why it finishes at 2. And that information will be said again in the email I send out after this. Any other questions? So,
Yeah, Jackie,
to reference, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I saw one about the good cause legislation. I almost said good cause eviction because that's what they've put in the title. Uh, if you get the chance when you're talking to those individuals, it's also good to point out that that bill in no way involves evictions or lease terminations. Also, just because words matter. But a question about how long a tenant could stay. So those bills have a list, as I said, a list of reasons why you could end a holdover tenancy or non-renew a tenant. And a lot of those have to do with, so if the property owner was going to sell the property and it was no longer going to be a rental. So if you were going to sell to someone who was going to be an owner occupant, the property was going to cease to be a rental, that would be an okay reason. If the property owner was going to move back into the property as their primary residence, that could be an acceptable reason. Major breaches of the lease, that would be an acceptable reason. So yeah, it would be for a very, very defined list, and you would have to find one of those reasons on the list in order to non-renew that tenant. So we think that's way too restrictive, but it is an excellent question when it comes to that legislation.
And also just a note, I see someone has raised their hands. We're not, unfortunately, I'm sorry, unmuting people right now. So if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box so we can answer it. You are also welcome to email me. My email, it was just on the screen, but again, it's jackie.muick@mdrealtor.org. It'll also be in the email, and it's been in your reminder emails as well. Um, Feel free to shoot me any emails with questions you might have leading up to the event. I will be responding to you all as quickly as possible, and you will be able to ask us any last minute questions or your team leads any questions on Wednesday as well.
I do see a question about talking points and receiving those the day of. The talking points that you saw on the screen in this webinar and are verbatim the talking points that you will see on your legislator sheet. So as we send out this recording, and I'm sure that Jackie can include the PowerPoint slides, you will have those talking points. We're not going to change them. What might change is if a bill number gets attached to one of those bills between now and lobby day, or if a hearing date is announced between now and lobby day, the status line might update, but the talking points are going to stay exactly as they are. So you'll have plenty of time with those before Wednesday arrives. Going through here. So recommendations on research. Obviously, this webinar and being here, you're as they said, you're already ahead of the game. But we do have on our advocacy page of our website, if you go there and go to advocacy priorities, There is a status report that lists all of the bills that Maryland Realtors is reviewing and that our legislative committee has taken positions on. We also have a recording of our session preview webinar that we held, I believe, back first week of January, somewhere around that time. So those are great options for you to review if you want to get extra credit for your preparation for Lobby Day.
Yes, I see the question about the advocacy preview webinar. I will definitely include the link to that recording as well, from the webinar that we did. Oh my God, when was that? I don't even remember. Time makes no sense anymore. But yes, I will include the link to that session preview webinar. Also, our talking points and that webinar and any like the bill tracking document and things like that for anyone who's trying to stay on top of our advocacy efforts before and after Lobby Day. Those are all available on our website on our advocacy priorities page. So if you look on the advocacy tab, one of the pages is called advocacy priorities, and that's where you can get all of the up-to-date information about this session, about past sessions, and as we get there, about future sessions as well.
I put a link to the status report and in the response to one of the questions, and I was trying to figure out how to put it in the chat, but we can follow up with that as well.
We may have disabled the chat. I'm sorry.
We're gonna miss.
Yeah. And in addition, I'll just point out, because it is a little new this year, those who have looked at our status report in previous years, it's a really long list because our legislative committee does a lot of work. They review around 200 bills every year. But we do have a new report that's called our priority issues report. That is much shorter, and that's going to be the housing bills, good cause, our realtor priorities as those are introduced. So that's a much shorter report where you can really keep up on just the key top issues and track those throughout the session. So we encourage you to check that out as well. And I know that Jackie will include links to all of this in our follow-up email to all of our Lobby Day attendees.
As
All
we
right,
said,
I'm not.
I'll take the minute to just, once
Yeah.
you mentioned how hard our legislative committee works, I just wanted to give shout out to both our legislative committee and our public policy committees for all their work that they have done in coming up with our priorities, and our legislative committee who, ride or die, holiday or not, will meet with us on Monday and review these bills for sometimes hours at a time. So I appreciate you all. And, we never too early to remind you, we always have committee signups available towards the end of spring.
All right, I'm not seeing a lot of additional questions coming in. Last call. All right, guys, if any of you think of anything before Wednesday that we haven't addressed, you know where to find all of us. Be sure to look for the email that has the recording for today and all of those links that we have promised you. Really safe travels to Annapolis, and we greatly appreciate your time, your energy, your effort in making this event and our realtor advocacy efforts a success. We appreciate you greatly. Have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you all so much.